Yo, so some areas in Wuthering Waves are a little bit harder to find than others, and this particular enemy, the Diamon Claw, has a gold tier guaranteed drop that you can get because there are some enemies in the open world that glow red, and those enemies in some cases will have a guaranteed gold tier drop. This enemy is one of those enemies. There is a level 70 version of him. There are 3 of them in the same room. When I ended up defeating this enemy, I only had to defeat 2 of them before I got the gold tier drop. Now, just so that you guys are aware, some of these enemies are not high enough level for you to get that guaranteed gold tier drop. If the enemy happens to be, let's say, level 60 or below, I believe they're only guaranteed to drop a purple. But this dude is one of those enemies you can get a gold tier drop from. And this is really, really important because this helps us raise up our databank level, and this is a guaranteed way for lower level players to be able to get a 5-star drop early. Oh, and just a heads up, I want to butt in real quick and point out that I will be putting out an Echo guide, not only for some advice on how to get yourself to databank level 15, but also just general Echo advice overall. So if you're interested in that, check the pinned comment and description below. It won't be ready right away. This video is going to go up first, and then once it's ready, I will be linking it in this video in the pinned comment and description below, so stay tuned for that. So if we start off here at the Donglu Research Station, we can use this particular resonance beacon. This is where the enemy is, as you just saw. This star on the map is actually where we're going to need to go, though, to get underground to be able to find that enemy, because that enemy I just showed you is actually underground. So if we start off at this resonance beacon, we're just going to use Gian here. We're going to turn around and start heading in that direction. So if you just follow this route, you'll be able to get there. I'm going to show you guys how to get all the way to that particular enemy, because it can be sometimes a little bit of a pain in the butt if you're using the detect system, because the detect system unfortunately is a little bit flawed. As you saw, because you may have probably experienced in some areas, you might not know if the enemy is underground or not using the detect system, or even if you know it's underground or not, you might not be able to find out how to get access to this. I wandered around this area for a little while, and I did eventually find it, but I'll admit it wasn't in the places you would expect it to be. So if you head over to this little base right here, this little camp, and you head over to this area, you can just slip down over here, and you have to go underground into this area and head over to this. You can run right by every single one of these enemies, by the way. You do not have to actually fight them. They might aggro, but you can just run straight past them. And when you get to the room that we need to be in, they will not actually follow you into that room. You can just go right past these dudes. Make sure you have just enough stamina to be able to run past them, because you don't want to fight them, and the reason why is because you don't want to take any damage on the way to these enemies, because these enemies are higher level. They're pains in the butt to fight sometimes. Now, this spot right here is where you have to enter in a password in order to open up this door. Now, the password is honestly just like a hindrance to you. You can literally just click on the different options for that password. This is the room right here that you need to be in. But for that password, all you have to do is keep just guessing. Just literally guess 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it'll keep letting you guess. It's probably a 5-digit code if I remember correctly, but literally just keep on guessing over and over and over again, and it'll eventually let you through the doorway. Now, there are a bunch of different strategies we can use to defeat these enemies. Obviously, you can just fight them straight up like a Chad. You could also kind of somewhat cheese them by literally using a gun weapon like a shooter, or like Shishia or Mortifi, and you can end up just shooting them from afar. Just be aware, though, that if you walk too far away from this room trying to sort of, like, I guess you could say, cheese them and sort of not really interact with the fight, if you walk too far away, the enemies will de-aggro, walk back to their spawn location, and they'll regain all of their health to full, and you'll have to restart this situation all over again. And nobody wants that, because that's incredibly frustrating and total bullshit. And if you'll notice, inside of this room, there are actually 2 little spots that you can kind of hide inside of and shoot these enemies from afar. You don't have to shoot them with a gun user. You can use any character that has ranged abilities in order to attack them. The problem is that you have to get their AI stuck in order to make sure you don't take damage, because these enemies have a ranged ability as well. They spit poison at you. I believe it's through their tail, which kind of makes no sense. I wish they would just spit it out of their mouths, but whatever. What the hell do I know, right? So just be aware that you could be trying to fight these guys for kind of a while, and you might not get it done because their AI might fix itself and start attacking you. So my suggestion, if you are trying to sort of not actually fight these guys and not actually interact with the fight, is to get on top of these little boxes right here, these little pods that you could normally walk inside of, but if you just jump on top of them, these enemies actually can't hit you. One of these pods is higher than the other, so I would suggest being on the one kind of like further to the right if you're, in the room on top of them facing down at the enemies. The one on the left is a little bit more risky because if your character starts to fall too low on the pod or the enemies start to raise up on the pod, they can hit you with their breath. I haven't had that problem before, but I don't want you guys to risk it and then have to start this whole entire process over again, because if you die down here, you're gonna have to go all the way back to the beginning and come all the way down here all over again. And let's be honest, that is a pain in the dick. Now, you don't obviously have to use a ranged character. You could also just use a melee character like I'm using Jian here, and you can kite these enemies all around the room, going in a bit of a circle, coming in, dealing them some damage, and then moving straight out. Because if your characters aren't that leveled up, or if you're waiting to level up your echoes until after you get your databank to level 15 so you can get those 5-star drops, or aka gold tier drops, you might not necessarily have the HP or the defense to survive some of the hits from these guys. If that's the case, that's probably why you want to cheese these dudes, or at least, kind of interact with them in a way that you don't have to actually take damage. You're sort of, I guess you could say, sitting out on the combat. Get in there, deal some damage, and then get out. So make sure that you always have stamina during this fight. Stamina, stamina, stamina. If you get too greedy, you won't have enough stamina to dodge away. There are 3 of these enemies, and that spray that they shoot you with has multi-hit. You could dodge it once and then think you're good, then get hit with the aftertaste or get hit with the aftershock damage that comes from that ability. So you're going to want to potentially spam the dodge in this game in order to get away from the enemy as they are using this ability. So again, I suggest if you want to fight them straight up, obviously go ahead and do so, man. I'm not going to stop you. But if you're trying to sort of, I guess you could say, defeat these guys the most easy and the most, I guess you could say, safe, you're going to want to kite these dudes around the room and attack them and then get away. And so what I do is I get on top of these little pods here, and then I wait for my stamina to rebuild again. Then I come off the left side, and then I sort of come out, attack them, and then I keep circling around and just rinse and repeat. Because I have like a well-invested Jian, I actually have 2 hits of my skill. You guys might notice that I have 2 hits of my skill instead of 1. That's because I pulled more than 1 copy of him. It wasn't even on purpose. It just sort of happened by accident. So get mad at me if you want. Invalid run, right? Anyways, you can just keep going around this room, attack, get away, rinse and repeat, and eventually you will be able to get this done. Unfortunately, I was running around doing this to try to prove a point for so long that I ran out of space on my hard drive, so I can't show you guys the enemy actually being defeated. But if you keep going around this room, you will be able to get the 5-star gold tier drop. And as you can see here in the menu, I was able to do this very same strategy that I'm showing you right now to get this done. If you found this video helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form, consider leaving a like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.